Good morning and welcome to KHG Blast. Haven't been on for a while, but here we are back again now. The first thing I want to say this morning is that I definitely do believe in climate change. Oh yes, I am a convinced climate change believer. Why do I say that? Well, just 3 or 4 days ago, it was over 30 degrees here in Joburg, where I am now. And it was hot and it was t-shirt wearing time. And here we are just 3 or 4 days later in October, and I've got my jacket on, and I've got a blanket over my legs, and it's cold. Man, climate changes, and it is quick change here in Joburg. Goodness me, can you believe it? All right, so much for my ecology lesson about climate change, okay? It changes. Ask Noah, by the way. He'll tell you about climate change as well. It changed rather drastically in his days as well. Anyway, here we go. I just thought I'd open up with something a bit, I don't know, maybe it's funny. Hopefully it's funny to you. So there we go. That's my views on climate change. And what's my next view that I want to talk about? Jesus the Shepherd. All right. Again, it's a bit of a light-hearted look. Jesus will forgive me, I'm sure. We read so much about Jesus and Jesus the Shepherd, and he says himself, I am the Good Shepherd. You go and read there in the Gospel of John, he says, I am the Good Shepherd. And that whole passage really refers to Ezekiel. Forgotten which chapters, but in Ezekiel you also read about the shepherds and the bad shepherds, but Jesus says, I'm the Good Shepherd. But what brings this point to mind, actually, is this. I was at a friend's memorial service some years ago, and she had passed away, and the memorial service was, I think, up in the Midrand somewhere, I can't remember, but in the I know the church that it was in, they had huge big stained glass windows, beautiful stained glass windows along the side. I think it was stained glass, or it was big paintings, I can't remember so well, but anyway, and on this stained glass or picture, whatever it was, big massive thing, was a picture of Jesus with a shepherd's crook and a lamb in his arms, and holding a lamb. And I thought to myself, Jesus, okay, having read the Bible a few times and so on, and it suddenly occurred to me, Jesus, the man of the Gospels, the one that grew up in Nazareth, that was born in Bethlehem, that whose mom and dad fled with him down to Egypt for a season, and back and settled in Nazareth, who then later stayed in Capernaum, and then later was crucified outside the city of Jerusalem on Golgotha, on Calvary. That Jesus was in fact never a shepherd by trade. He never looked after sheep. That wasn't his job. Okay, and so I thought this, you kind of think, one understands why they have that image up, because Jesus says, "I'm the Good Shepherd," and he relates his relationship with us as a shepherd to sheep. But he himself never looked after sheep and goats and things like that. He was something else altogether. All right, so then, in later years, it sounds like as a millions of years later, sometime later, it might have been at the same time, I don't know, I was listening or reading to somebody talking about Jesus the carpenter. All right, so Jesus the shepherd, Jesus the carpenter. And I thought, oh, okay. And this guy started talking, and he said, there's an idea that he might have not been a carpenter, but in fact a stonemason. And I thought, where on earth does he get that? Because in Matthew 6 verse 3, it definitely talks about Jesus the carpenter. And so I thought, well, just this morning I thought, the thought came up again, and I thought, let's go and have a look at that. Excuse me, I'm going to have a sip of coffee here. It's cold, you've got to have coffee. Nescafe. This is not Nescafe coffee, this is Zimbabwean ground coffee. We buy it at one of our local shops here. You go and get the coffee beans, and I've got a coffee grinder, and you grind it, and you got like a nice Zimbabwe coffee bean. I think it probably comes from the Vumba area in Zims. Anyway, crocodile or something, I don't know. Free advertising, guys, but Zimbabwe coffee, good stuff. All right. Anyway, so Jesus the carpenter. So I went and looked up that particular verse in the Greek, and to see what it says, and it says Technuen. The word they use there is Technuen. So I said, okay, let's look that up a bit. Just when I read Technuen, the immediate thought that came to me was technician. Obviously, that's where the word technician, the English word technician, technicus, and I suppose in Afrikaans, the word technician would have its origins over there somewhere, that kind of word, technician. So Technuen, it's actually not Technuen, it's Techtuen, okay, Techtuen. And so I went and looked up Techtuen, and in the one particular reference book that I looked it up in, it said an artisan, all right, an artisan, one who could be working with wood, which is where the idea of carpentry comes from. And I looked up in another Greek lexicon, and it says something along the lines of a person who works. A Techtuen is a person who is a builder, okay? And a builder would be using things like stone or wood. I'm talking about in the days of Jesus, when he was alive on earth, walking on earth in Bethlehem in the year 1, 2, 3, 4, right up to 33, I suppose. In those days, there would have been a Techtuen would have been an artisan, a builder, and a builder could have been working with stone, he could have been working with wood, could have been working with other material as well, but it's somebody who worked with his hands. Okay, so Joseph, the father of Jesus, the earthly father of Jesus, could well have been a stonemason, or a builder, or a carpenter, or all three, or two, or both, I don't know. So that to me is interesting, because if Jesus was a stonemason, and it's not outside the bounds of possibility that he was, there's something there that connects, because Jesus is referred to as the rock, and a rock is, and we read in Daniel about the rock not hewn by human hands, that comes to earth and destroys that statue in the vision, and that grows into a mountain. Okay, and so Jesus, the rock of the foundation, he is the rock, he is the foundation, not hewn by human hands, but grows into a mountain. Okay, an artisan. So the whole idea of the artisan, the builder, the creator of what we are and who we are, comes up in that kind of image that I have created for myself. Jesus, the builder, the stonemason, the carpenter. He made things with his hands. In the scriptures, obviously, there's another implication that in Matthew is that who is this guy? He's just a carpenter. What is that? He's just a carpenter's son. He's just a stonemason's son. He's not educated. What's all the story about? But that's besides the story. That's just a side story. But Jesus obviously worked with his hands. He was a man who could do things. He could work things out. He could design things. And not only did he work with his hands, he obviously worked with his heart, with his mind. He was a complete person. But anyway, I just thought I'd throw that in there just to get you thinking and about things, the way we ought to maybe read the scriptures and understand the scriptures. and see there's lots of facets and sides to the scriptures that we maybe need to look at and get a better understanding, I suppose, of what's going on. Okay, so, right, that's one thing. That's another thing I wanted to talk about. Okay, Jesus the shepherd, and the pictures of him as a shepherd. In fact, he never was a shepherd. He was a stonemason or a carpenter or a journeyman, an artisan. He made things and he moved on from there and became a shepherd of people. Okay, the shepherd of God's shepherd, like, is related to or compared to David, King David, who was a shepherd. In fact, he did look after sheep, who then became a king, and then the son of David, Jesus himself, who in fact never was the actual shepherd, but a carpenter or a stonemason, whatever you want to think he was. If the Bible says he's a carpenter, that's fine. He was a carpenter, but he worked with his hands, and then he became a king, and he is our king, the King of Kings. Okay, and then there's another sort of item I've kind of looked at over the years. Now, I'm Pentecostal, so having grown up in a Pentecostal church, I've seen plenty of things. I'm talking physical things happen in church. We call the happy clappers. We all sorts of names have been assigned to us for various reasons because of things that happen in our services. People doing funny things. There's laughing, there's clapping, there's dancing, there's all sorts of stuff happening in a Pentecostal. In not every single service, but these things happen. They're there, and we see them, and we don't have a big problem with them, because we understand from the scriptures that God does weird things. I mean, donkeys talk, so if donkeys can talk, I suppose people can laugh in church, and people can clap their hands, and they can fall over and do all sorts of stuff. If Elijah can call down fire from heaven, and we believe, obviously, that in the day that we live in, God's miracles are just as bound to happen as they were in the last, since God created mankind. So miracles are here, they to stay, they haven't stopped happening, and miracles are by definition things which we can't explain with our reason or science. It's just things that happen. Not just miracles, but also displays of emotion and stuff like that. Laughing and crying and weeping and dancing and shouting and jumping. We read with Peter when they raised that crippled man and prayed for him, and he became well. He got healed. His legs, he could walk, and he went off, jumping and laughing and praising God, and because of his excitement. So we believe all our emotions are there, and we can show our emotions, and we can use our emotions. What my thing is there's a time and a place for all these things to happen in the church. I'll go to a service and the pastor is preaching, and he's got a good word going, and something really interesting, and I'm engrossed and I'm listening. I'm a pastor and I preach to people, so I enjoy it when people are listening to me and taking in what I'm saying. And so when I go to a church where I'm the congregant, the pew warmer, as it were, I want to sit and I want to listen and I want to hear what he's saying, and enjoy what he's saying, take in what he's saying, and then somebody on the side will suddenly start laughing and going crazy, and I'm thinking to myself, this is very distracting. I don't like this. Taking my attention away from what the pastor is saying. But this is from God. So what's the message here? Is it okay to be distracted? Or am I being distracted because the pastor's talking nonsense and that God doesn't want me to hear what the pastor's saying? I don't know. No. There's a place for everything. If somebody wants to laugh and carry on, the Bible clearly says in Corinthians there must be order in the service. If somebody's prophesying and somebody else wants to prophesy, the first one must sit down so the second one can prophesy. And if the second one was prophesying and the third one wants to get up and prophesy, he must sit down. The second one, and the other one must stand up and prophesy. No, there's order in church so that we can focus on what's happening at the front or at the focal point. If we're all singing together, we're all singing together. If we're all laughing and crying and making a noise and together, that's fine. Then we all do that, and the focus is on the emotions that are flying around. That's no problem there. But when we're in the service and the guy's preaching, then I start thinking to myself, what's going on here? You know, maybe an usher or something must come and take the person to where they can laugh to their heart's content without disturbing those near them, because I want to hear what the guy's saying. Anyway, that's just one of my kind of things. But the actual act of laughing or crying or whatever it is, no problem with that. People laugh, people cry, people show their emotions. It's just how it happens, the order in which it happens, that I think we need to perhaps look at sometimes. All right? Maybe the pastor should stop preaching until that person stops laughing. You know, and everybody can enjoy the laugh. And when the laughing is done with, then the pastor can carry on preaching, and we can then hear what he's saying and pay attention to what he's saying. And anyway, that's my take on that. But anyway, I want you guys to have a blast this week, have a good time, and tomorrow I'm going to be preaching on Zoom again at 11 o'clock our time here in Joburg. And so those of you who are listening to this, you can always catch that service somewhere. I think, anyway, on Zoom. You can catch it on Zoom, obviously. And anyway, I'll be preaching on tomorrow at 11 o'clock on Zoom. So have a blast, have a good day, and I shall see you soon. And hopefully this climate changes very quickly again, back to some nice warmth. But I must say, I'm enjoying the rain. It's a nice, good rain. We've had 2.5 inches in 2 days. Very nice rain, good soaking rain, love it. Okay, no problem with the change, but at some stage we'll have some sunshine again, warm up again, and then some more rain. So weather changes all the time. That's good stuff. All right. So may your life change according to the season God has put you into, and enjoy the change that God brings to you in your life at the right time that he brings it to you. Because God's change is always in season, at the right time, exactly for where you are. Enjoy the change, enjoy God's blessing, and go and have a blast.